You have a right to defend yourself.
I shot the sheriff.
And it's the same thing goes for a police officer. If somebody's waving a gun around at them, they don't have to wait till you shoot them to protect themselves. They've got the same powers a citizen has. They derive their powers from that, from the common law power. That's what it all flows from. And sure, this young 20-year-old meth head, out of his mind, trying to break into a place they admit to steal. The place had been robbed before. That's why the family was there waiting. I don't think the punishment fits the crime. I don't think it's good that he is dead. I'll be honest. I was never a big thief, but I grew up on a golf course, and I learned from older friends how to go up to the country club, and the golfers would have a big container, an ice chest on the back of their golf carts full of beer. And I only did it a few times, mainly when older kids would say, come on, it's your turn. We want some beer. I'd be like 12, 13, 14 years old. All right. I remember going to, just like in Caddyshack at the country club, wasn't as fancy as the Caddyshack country club, but you'd have all the adults at the country club drinking. They'd leave their drink sitting there half drunk, just like in Caddyshack, where Spalding is going down the bar, taking a drink out of each one, and then he drinks one that has a cigarette in it and goes out and vomits in the guy's Porsche. All right, I'm digressing. Back to some memories. So I wouldn't want my child doing what I did, grabbing some beer or grabbing some watermelons. In fact, I have some cousins that told the story of, just for fun, stealing some watermelons. And they were running off with them, and here came the shotgun pellets, and they were too far away for it to penetrate, but it sure hurt them. The old-timers knew how to do it. If they caught you climbing over their fence, just messing with their chickens, they'd shoot you with a number 8 bird shot. You might get a pellet in you or something. They caught somebody out stealing their tomatoes or whatever. They wouldn't shoot you with a 30-06. They wouldn't kill you. They'd say, you best start running, boy. As soon as you got about 50 yards away, boom, I don't come back. So but if my place had been robbed repeatedly, and I was there with adrenaline, sitting there with a hunting instinct, maybe for days, waiting, because the cops couldn't protect you, or they couldn't station a cop outside their auto dealership. And then here come the guys, and they're taking the word of one of the people that broke in here. That, well, yeah, we had weapons, knives all taped to us, but we weren't a threat. You're on somebody's property at night with a weapon. We've got to protect people's rights to live in their homes and their businesses at night. You don't go down a badger hole at night. You don't go in a bear's cave. You don't come on somebody's property. You don't break in somebody's business. If you're willing to break in somebody's business at night, you're willing to do other crimes. And that's why you're considered armed and dangerous. That's why common law says you can be killed. And it's easy to second-guess people that kill folks that break in their houses or businesses. But people that break in houses should know you've got a good chance of getting your hind end killed. All right, now I've already spent too much time on this, but I wanted to fully flesh that issue out. I'm going to go to break. This is a short segment. Come back to Joe, Johnny, Tim, Tina, Carlos, and many others that are patiently holding. When you hear a caller hang up, it's your chance to call in, 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. My phone system has unlimited lines, hundreds. It's digital. Genesis only has 5 lines and a 6th line for guest. And I really think Ted ought to add more lines because we could have 100 people on hold there that could sit there all day. I'm just joking. So we're going to be going to your phone calls. You can hear that my voice is a little bit out. It's because I started screaming again yesterday, and my voice has gotten to a point where I just can't scream. I'm sure if I went to a doctor and they checked my larynx, it probably looks like a piece of dried leather. But I've got so much other news coming up. I haven't even gotten into the news yet, but your calls first. Then, Oh, yes, Dick Cheney, 1 year as a walking zombie. I'll tell you about that report. Stay with us. Hey, the great interrupter. Even interrupting my own liners. Can't do any better than that. Hadn't played that liner in a while. I forgot how long it is. Okay, it is Monday. It is the 29th day of August, 2011. I want to go to your phone calls. Then coming up, Gore. Global warming skeptics are this generation's racists, and he says that we've got to be ostracized, demonized, and ultimately, like in Europe, they're trying to say it's like Holocaust denial. They want to make it illegal. That's been actually called for. Al Gore plays the race card, but he's the real racist. Very important article by Paul Joseph Watson pointing out that the carbon taxes alone, the Copenhagen Treaty writers admitted, would kill at least 1 billion people in the next decade if implemented. Because most folks are on $2 a day or less worldwide. More than half that money goes to food. You increase the energy prices that go into the food, it will be a death sentence. Not to mention the biofuels that he spearheaded. He's now had to admit that his biofuels, after he got caught, have killed millions. And he's been the big guy pushing those. It's one thing to put your waste into biofuels, but to have most of our corn crop in this country going into biofuels, not even corn syrup, certainly a death sentence. Also, Disney Factory faces probe into sweatshop suicide claims. Human rights campaigners say Chinese factories are using children as young as 14. We're talking about 120 hours of overtime per period, standing for 12 hours nonstop, and having to huff the deadly gases. That's the big thing, is that, man, I worked in a print shop for 3 months. A buddy got me a job, and I thought, well, this is $12 an hour. This is better than $8 an hour working at a golf course or something, going to college. And they said, okay, you're on the shrink wrapper. And I was high as a kite every day by lunch. A few times I even went and threw up in the bathroom. And after about a month, I said, I'm going to have to quit. I can't run that shrink wrapper. I said, I don't care if there's a fan over there. It's not working, this big industrial shrink wrapper back in the back of the building. And I said, I'll do anything else. They said, fine, you'll be the one that unloads the pallets and everything. And then they put me back on the shrink wrapper. And I said, I just can't do this. I mean, can you imagine working in these factories where there's no environmental standards, no nothing? Again, that's why the globalists want to put more and more regulations on us, because then it moves everything to China, which they own, increasing their profits. They put regulations on Western companies to make it impossible to operate, and then they make you move to China where there's no controls. So that's coming up. Sex offenders paid to babysit, Chicago Tribune. There's a lot more to this story than just what they're reporting. The State Department of Human Services poorly vetted babysitters for years, and when in 2009 law forced better checks, it took nearly 18 months to start them. The newspaper investigation on Child Care Assistance Program. Multiple-time rapist, drug dealers, pedophiles. Well, remember 5 years ago, CNN reported on it? Thousands of missing children in Florida, and the CPS was taking them out of state. And it turned out the number 1, number 2, and number 3 heads of CPS were all convicted child rapists. They said, oh, what an accident. It's not an accident. That's who they recruit. I heard Travis County a few months ago on the news. They played a clip of Commissioner's Court trying to pass a law at the county level that they can hire felons. And quite frankly, they put so many people in prison who don't deserve to be felons. I could see that. We're this giant prison population. But the problem is then they want to hire criminals because they're criminals. All right, so that's coming up. Secret vaccine industry ties and military involvement with Institute of Medicine. We're going to get into Libyan rebels killing black Gaddafi supporters. That's now confirmed, even the Washington Post. As expected, widespread racist murders in Libya at the hands of rebel forces revealed. Al-Qaeda kingpin is new military commander of Tripoli. That's now confirmed. BBC responds over false Tripoli footage. They put out fake video of people celebrating. I told you. Now it's admitted. Lockerbie case, Libyans won't deport bomber. The new Al-Qaeda leaders won't deport him. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss, or even worse. The liberation of Libya, NATO, special forces, Al-Qaeda join hands. Libya, the greatest betrayal in handing over Libya to Al-Qaeda. The line has been crossed forever. Tripoli Psychiatric Hospital overwhelmed by war fallout. Absolute humanitarian disaster over there. And it's not like Gaddafi was still engaging in terror. He rolled over for 7 years, sort of giving all the major investments to Goldman Sachs and others. He sold out to the globalist. He's a bad guy, they're bad. But you notice that right when he tried to come in out of the dark, come in out of the cold, that's when they set him up. And are now putting folks even worse in. Okay. Only in America, as Don King would say. Let's talk to Joe in Pennsylvania. You're on the air, Joe.
Alex, greetings from the city of brotherly corruption.
Yes, sir.
Have you seen anything about this Army Ranger Captain John Leonard England who killed 4 people in 2 states over here during the hurricane?
No, but we could search his name. Let me just get my mouse working here. Oh, this mouse is driving me insane. It either moves too easily or won't move. What's his name?
It's John Leonard, and the last name is Egland.
Yeah, there it is. Police, Virginia soldier kills 4 in Virginia, PA, shoots cop, kills himself. And I'll learn more about that, but tell us about it.
Well, it seems like this guy, from the stories I've read, it looks like they're making it out to be some sort of domestic dispute. He apparently killed his estranged wife, her boyfriend, the boyfriend's son, and then traveled up here to Pennsylvania outside of Philadelphia and killed her mother.
Well, any cop will tell you domestic disputes are the worst. That Richard Poplawski that killed 3 cops, he had 2 pit bulls that were urinating everywhere. His mother said, "You're kicked out of the house if you don't get rid of him." He threw a fit. She called the cops. He was drunk. He killed the cops. And then it turned out he hated me and was attacking me all over the internet. So what did the ADL Southern Poverty Law Center do? They said that he loved me. Any excuse to demonize this radio show.
Well, that's the ADL Southern Poverty Law Center is immediately what I thought of with that warning about returning veterans coming and how they could pose the most danger to us ordinary citizens. It's just there's something not right about this story, and then he apparently kills himself after he drops off his daughter at a local hospital, and then goes off into the woods and kills himself. Although nothing's been officially declared.
Well, I'll tell you, the veterans are not the #1 threat for, quote, terrorism, but as their pensions get cut, as they... look, I appreciate your call. Let me just briefly speak to this, since you raised it. If you take men and you put them in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or even 6 tours of heavy combat, especially special forces types, and what they know how to do is release their killer instinct, and they've got post-traumatic stress issues, and they come home, and the government takes their pension funds away through inflation and through cuts, as they're now announcing they're going to do, and as family pressures and everything else happens, imagine you're a veteran. You come home, you've been through absolute hell, you're back in spoiled, rotten America with a bunch of people griping, complaining at you, and all you know how to do is kill people. You're going to go crazy and you're going to kill a bunch of people. That's why the Postal Service has the term going postal, because it's full of veterans and people, because they give veterans preferential hiring. And you got a bunch of vets in there, and whenever things go wrong, it's been advertised to them as a way to deal with it is kill your supervisor, kill yourself. That's what's going to happen. Now, you add to this that you have a lot of suicides and killings with 1 tour in Vietnam or 1 tour in Korea or World War II. I mean, everybody knows about the old vet that lives down the street. I mean, I got to tell you, all the old vets I knew that were my grandfather's World War II buddies, they were all really nice, but you'd hear stories about them. You know, if anybody crossed them or anything, they were just ready to kill. And that's why the police always leave the old vets alone, because they know this person is just ready to start killing people. And that's the way it works. And that's why it's so dangerous they're hiring people that have not been in 1 tour, but 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They found out in World War I, don't have somebody serve more than 1 year in combat. Some people thrive in it. But a big percentage, 35, 40%, become extremely unstable. Now, what are they doing? Well, we showed you the DPS memo here in Texas a month ago. They are quietly discriminating and only trying to hire combat veterans.